The failure of the Socialists. American political culture was always dominated by center-right policies. Even the few left-wing movements of that time were relatively less powerful. These terms are meaningless after the final revolution. In our day, no such division is necessary, with labor, manufacturing all working as one. The Socialists are, in fact, simply center-left politicians of the peculiarly right-of-center American Overton window. But American politics were riven with superstition, lack of education, and superficial ideological divisions. This was the reign of the American Socialists. They were called so by the later North American textbooks. Still, this term did not relate to understanding the political goals of this faction. As socialism is the ownership of the means of production, these socialists were only so defined by their enemies. Algorithms worked to destroy democracy. The process was a long technocratic one, as the weight of wealth flowed to the top. These algorithms decide every aspect of life. They destroyed attention spans. They chose love. They chose waking hours, and they chose jobs. Free will, ever a subjective thing, was now dispensed with. The Socialists came to power on what was assumed to be a general peace dividend. With the Peace of Tehran, both the United States and China took respective breathers to probe for influence internationally. Taiwan, long expected to fall before the might of the PRC, stayed independent. First, the Socialists enacted a plan to expand tuition reimbursement, with tax breaks extended to businesses. Volunteer programs were developed that provided tuition payments. Income divisions continued to get worse. Lower-income areas, ghettos, and lower-class rural areas long suffered from drug use and general civil decay, with lawlessness a general rule. People in that lowest class lived by appetites. These areas were targeted with full coverage for particular STEM degrees. The American economy, falling behind other nations across the globe, began to recover international competitiveness. Healthcare was finally covered with a public option. Economic growth spiked. Large tech companies were broken up. Taxes were removed on all middle-class workers, while a national sales tax was implemented to cover the increasing government costs. Expected to take an international role, the American military was still funded. Excise taxes attempted to stem the tide of online disinformation. As America focused on the Pacific, foreign aid was reassessed, with larger economies left to their own devices. Space was also funded drastically. Research and development funds went to hydrogen fuel, nuclear reactors, thorium, and fusion power. Solar and wind were deployed where possible. Work gangs made up of felons and welfare recipients reforested large parts of the Americas. Amid these domestic developments, China assaulted Taiwan. America responded by blocking the Straits of Malacca. This collapsed international trade and all countries dumped their Federal Reserve notes. Massive spikes in unemployment followed. American forces now moved to feint along the Chinese coast before landing around Tianjin and assaulting Beijing. The CCP collapsed. Deserts had expanded across China, and masses were moving north, slowly but surely, into the waiting wastes of Siberia.